Hey everybody, it's Mike Young from a digitalnomad.net YouTube channel. And I am making a new video here in the summer, July of 2022 about the Tesla Robo Taxi, Tesla AutoPilot, full self-driving, level 5, whatever you want to call it, okay? Because I want to kind of update everybody as to where Tesla is and the things that you need to know about just as a human driver, or maybe as somebody who wants to learn more about the company, or somebody who just thinks that Tesla is like a regular car company. That's the other thing. I've made many videos in the past about this. The last one I made on this was probably a couple of years ago at this point. I don't think I made any videos last year on this. But also last year, I think Elon Musk had a deadline at the end of last year, 2021, that he was supposed to, actually maybe it was 2020, I can't even remember. Somebody remind me in the comments if you remember, that he was supposed to have level 5 full self-driving released and downloaded to all the cars, and they were going to be self-driving. And I actually lost a bet on that with a friend of mine. So Hassan, if you're watching, yeah, you won that bet, and I had to take you out to your steakhouse, whatever, for lunch. And anyway, that was in the past now. But the vehicles that Tesla has been talking about in terms of making full self-driving are still out there on the road. So let this be like a Robotaxi 101 class or something like that, where I'm going to teach you everything I know about the Tesla company, the Robotaxis, and this is stuff I've known for years. A lot of people still don't understand it though, so I want to make sure to get this out to people. Actually, let me get something here to clean my Sorry, I've been in the studio making video recordings. So let's start way back when. Well, way back when Tesla's stock price was a lot lower, and it's a lot higher now, Elon Musk was talking about this full self-driving package, upcoming level 5, that the car you can buy today is going to be driving itself as soon as they have developed all the systems that are already in place on your vehicle. That's a short story. He was saying stuff like this back in 2016. All right. It's 2022. That was 6 years ago. That's a long time ago. But he's still saying the same stuff now that he was saying back then. The most important takeaway from what I just said is that for years and years and years now, Tesla has apparently been deploying in their manufactured vehicles. And I heard that just over at the Fremont factory over there in California, Fremont, California, in Silicon Valley area outside San Francisco, they've just produced their 2 millionth Tesla already. So there's a lot of Teslas out there, and they're not all from the Fremont factory. A lot of these are now being built at the Austin, Texas, over in China factory as well, which has really ramped their output up, and then also in Germany. And who knows where they'll build their next gigafactory. But they're really big on producing as many robots as they can. And you got to think of these as robots, not cars, because Elon is saying that these systems that they've been producing since mid-October 2016 and forward, and also note that anything before mid-October 2016 is not backwards compatible. You will not be able to do self-driving, at least not from Tesla's standpoint. And they own all the technology here. So if at any point they feel like shutting your vehicle off or disabling things, they can. We know this because of how things are done with the supercharger network and how they can take away free supercharging whenever they want. And that's a whole other video. And maybe I need an update on that one too. By the way, free supercharging is no longer available. You have to buy a used vehicle in the right one in order to get it. That's a short story on that. But for level 5 self-driving, Elon said, and this is what kind of pushed me forward on the whole buying a Tesla thing, was one of the things he said, in addition to having free supercharging, which is basically free electricity at the Tesla chargers for the life of the vehicle, which mine has. So even if I sell it to somebody, they still get it. He said that at this point forward, mid-October, that you'll be able to, your car will drive itself. And he's been a big fan of the systems that are all visual camera based, 8 cameras on the Tesla cars. And that's how you can tell. You have 2 side cameras on the sides of the doors and fenders on both sides of the car. Previous Teslas that had an autopilot system, which is not compatible, only had front and rear cameras. There's actually 3 of them up in the front above the rear view mirror, and there's one in the back that doubles as the rear view camera. But on the newer ones that has a newer technology, and in addition to that, they have redundant steering systems. They have redundant, I think, power transformers off of the main battery pack in case something goes wrong. Those are only available when you see the 8 cameras. So you got to see the camera on the side, which is if you look at, like, say, the driver's side of the vehicle, it'll have to be between the front wheel and the driver's door. There'll be a camera in there if you have it. And then there'll be another camera in between the front door glass and the rear door glass. In that B pillar there, you'll see a camera looking out. So that's how you know you have it. If you have that on both sides of the car, and you will have it on both sides of the car, they only made them like that. Then you have one of these cars. You have something that's in the Tesla Robo taxi fleet, all right? Or the soon to be launched fleet of cars that are already on the road. Now that's the big takeaway here, because other manufacturers have talked about doing cars, doing self-driving cars, having some form of lane keeping assist or driver assistance software or hardware in their vehicles, but no other manufacturer, to my knowledge, has made the claim, which is kind of strange that this much time has gone on, to say that, all right, well, at some point, we're going to download software to our vehicles that are already on the road, and we're going to make them self-driving. No one said that. That tells you how far ahead Tesla is, because if I'm telling you it's been 6 years now that Tesla's been talking about this, it tells you, people say, oh, Tesla's years ahead. Well, there's 6 years right there, and nobody's still doing anything. It's kind of strange. It's kind of really weird. And there's been a lot of FUD out there, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. A lot of people have been saying Elon Musk doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and that stock is way overpriced. You guys are just dreamers. You don't know what the hell is going on. This is not how it works. The automobile industry is a very low budget business, and you're going to go out of business. You're going to go bankrupt. And that almost happened in 2008. But thankfully it didn't. I remember Elon talking when they were having troubles. He was saying, like, hey, we have this really low priced car and it will be self-driving. And it sounds like a really good deal to me. You should buy some. And actually, I wish I would have bought one back then, because I think the price of that car has basically doubled over that period of time. And it'll be worth a lot more once this system works. Now, if you see the car behind me, that's a Model X. I have a Model X. That's going to have the most passenger room. It probably will be best for driving, except in really smaller urban environments, although it still is a really good package. It fits just about anywhere, so it's a little bit wider. But notice that there's nothing on the roof of that car. You see, there's no LiDAR. And the competition, look at that, that's messed up. Am I going to come back? I hope I can recover from this. There, okay. The competition has always been talking about LiDAR. That's some of the FUD that's been thrown out there on the scene, is that Tesla doesn't have that LiDAR thing on the roof, which is basically a radar that spins around in all directions and is constantly picking stuff up that you can't see with the visual cameras. But Elon's always said, well, humans do a great job. Good human drivers are the best, and they only have eyes, and only 2 of them. And Tesla has 8 cameras. So he's like, that's more than enough. We should be able to do this. And I believed it, at least when he said it initially. I didn't think you need some spinning thing, which, by the way, can break easily. And at least the Tesla has 8 overlapping cameras, and even if one goes out, I'm guessing it could still work, and it can use the data from other Teslas that are on the road. So his idea is pretty simple. Put these systems in the cars, all visual systems, design them into all Teslas, make them all kind of work the same. He's talked about this neural net where all Teslas have always been connected to the internet, so they're always broadcasting this information up and down. Their Tesla main computers are able to, in this neural net, design all the road systems. They're able to get data on all the road systems, huge amounts of data. They're out there, they're data gathering machines right now. No other automaker has mentioned that they even have anything like this. And this is why Tesla should not be valued as an automaker. I know people say that the stock is overpriced, but I also think that they're also valuing it only as a car company or a traditional automotive human driver type vehicle producer, when that's not what it is. They're a robot company. And apparently Tesla is going to have some actual robots that are not cars come out very soon, within the next few months, where they're going to do some kind of AI robot day, because Elon has said that in the efforts and in the quest to finalize how all this is going to work with the full self-driving level 5 stuff, they basically had to do and learn all of AI. So that has many other implications besides just your self-driving cars. It has to do with, any other uses of robots, which I'm guessing are going to be pretty cool. So Tesla's a robot company, and they're having these giant factories. These factories are bigger than other, and I know that other manufacturers have said, well, we have much greater manufacturing capability. But, the reality is, if these companies have greater manufacturing capability than Tesla, number one, Tesla's valued way above all of them. Tesla could buy most of them, but they're set up for ICE vehicles. And I know one of the things I want to say here is that ICE vehicles could be used. You don't necessarily need a pure electric vehicle to do the full self-driving in the way that Tesla's doing it. It's just a means of propulsion, but it's a lot easier and it's a better designed car when you do it right. It's electric. So all the other automakers at this point realized this in 2022. There was so much FUD and they weren't doing anything for a while, but now they're all playing catch up. And it'll be interesting to see how many go out of business during this process. So getting back to the robo taxis, the four-wheeled robots that'll be out there. What has to happen is that they have to solve AI and they have to map everything out. And here is the big thing that's going to happen is that once this problem does get solved, I think everybody will stop saying that Tesla stock is overvalued, and it'll probably take another leap like it did in summer of 2020. That was 2 years ago. That's when the first 1,000% leap took place. Although it had leaped before that because they actually remained in business. But then it leapt, I think, when people recognize that we are now going through the transition to self-driving cars and electric cars. Or I think actually it was just for electric cars. I think the leap for self-driving hasn't taken place yet because it's very unclear if this technology is going to work to the average person or even the average investor. And it's very unclear to other humans as to how this is going to go because all we know is driving ourselves and we can't imagine that happening. And, we know when people are tracking us with AI, it can't be that smart. At least that's what people are thinking word on the street is. But what's going to happen in my mind is Tesla will solve the problem. Most Teslas that are on the road have been built after October 2016. So almost all Teslas that are out there have this 8-camera system. Like I said, you could tell from yourself. They're gathering your data. They're putting it online. They're crunching all the numbers on the Tesla computer. They're mapping out all the roads. I think that's pretty soon. I think some of the new iterations of the software, they're going to even start watching for potholes and other things in the road, which they don't have the capability of doing right now, but they need to know that for self-driving. And it's just a matter of training everything so it works right. So it's very interesting times because what's going to happen is when Tesla gets this stuff done right, Tesla already has the fleet of robo taxis out there on the road. So once that software download commences and is installed by all of the robo taxis out there, which is basically all of Tesla's fleet of vehicles out there on the road, Tesla is suddenly going to, in my mind, own all of the paved roads. I'm not sure how the gravel or off-road stuff things are going to be. I don't know. I'm not speaking for that, but just the paved roads. If you think about that from a money-making perspective, you think about that from an appreciating asset perspective that Elon claims Tesla cars are, at least the ones built since mid-October 2016, you understand the value of that. You understand why the software that I bought back in 2017 when the cars were expensive, but the software was cheap. I think I paid like $4,000 to $6,000, something like that, for the full software package, which is good forever and ever. And they've given me all kinds of hardware upgrades that are necessary for these systems. And it's not like a monthly charge. The software is going to become so expensive. I think we're over $12,000 now for the software package, and that's going to keep going higher. Elon says easily over $20,000 or more once the system becomes active. And you can imagine it's going to have that kind of value to it. And it's going to be so expensive that some owners are going to have to use a subscription service on a monthly basis. And thankfully, it's not me. And I hope I can keep my car and keep it on the road. And actually, it's kind of funny because as the value of these Tesla products increases, the resale value increases. Like for instance, a Model X right now, a base model, non-performance, without the software upgrades, I believe is about $140,000, something like that, 120 to 140. I think last time I checked. That's unbelievable. That's more than I paid for my optioned out, fully softwared out version, just a few years back, early 2017. And it looks the same. I mean, look behind me. If you don't know much about Tesla, it just looks the same, and it does the same things. At the Falcon Wing doors, it drives these people around. It'll do everything that the new ones do. So that increases the resale value, which means that it's going to be harder and harder to total these things, because with a lot of cars, it's easy to total. And actually, right now, since we're in that transition from human driving to autonomous driving, Um, it's a dangerous time because it's great for early adopters like me, where I went in, bought, and paid for all this thing. Like my $107,000 Tesla was by far the most expensive car I ever bought. But it'll probably be, as long as I can keep it on the road, the least expensive to own and operate vehicle per mile of any vehicle I've ever owned, because the price keeps going up. Actually, I could, if this thing gets starts to drive itself, I could probably end up selling it for just as much as I paid for it, with hundreds of thousands of miles on it. These are also very easy to service. It's not like trying to change an engine out of an diesel or gas engine out of another car. It's a very complicated process and very expensive. These electric motors are so small, they're easy to get to. It's not that big of a deal, and they last longer anyway. All right, so getting back to the resale value, if the resale value is going to be higher, it's going to be harder to total the car, meaning these cars are going to stay on the road longer and longer and longer. Also, another tidbit that you may not know is that the S and X, which were the first ones, are fully aluminum vehicles. They do have a few steel parts here and there, but for the most part, fully aluminum. Aluminum does corrode, but it doesn't rust out like steel does. So these have a much, much longer overall lifespan than regular cars. And I think Elon, believe it or not, took that into consideration when designing these cars. A lot of forethought went into this on so many levels. And that's why I had to make this video, so that you guys can understand all of these different nuances and all these different reasons as to why these Tesla cars are going to be worth a lot of money into the future, and that they're actually going to work. Now, the Model 3, Model Y are not done like that. They're different chassis. They're steel based. The skins on the outside of them, the sheet metal is steel. But they had to do that to lower the cost. They also make them a little smaller, like 20% smaller. So that's the difference between some of the Tesla cars, but they're all going to be able to drive themselves. They're all going to have somewhat similar values. I think there's going to be a lot less of a range in there. But just like with a lot of things, if you think about it, even with like, I have a landscape business. I use a lot of higher tech stuff for cutting grass. The machines keep getting more and more expensive. Pretty soon they'll all be software driven, battery powered, self-mowing machines. And it's going to be, that's just the trend. The machines themselves, the robots, everything, all the machines are transitioning into robots, just get more and more expensive. And something you got to be aware of is that in the future, there may be, very well may be a difference in class of people between the robot owners and the non-robot owners, because the robot owners are going to have so much opportunity to earn so much money off of these services that the robots will perform. So it's just, hopefully, I mean, I know, like I said, Tesla products are expensive now, but you got to recognize how expensive they're going to be going forward once it's shown that they actually work. Same with the stock value of the Tesla, although this is not investment advice. This stuff's going to be out of reach for almost everybody. So you should get in now while there's all this FUD out there, and lack of understanding or misunderstanding or just ignorance in general. Because we all grew up in a time when all this was not even thought of ever happening in our lifetime. We couldn't even comprehend it unless it was in a science fiction book or a science fiction movie. And we thought it was magic or something like that. And yeah, I mean, even the Model X behind me has, they all do these holiday light shows, which looks like magic in some way, and people don't forget about it. People aren't going to forget when they see all these Teslas going down the road with no drivers in them and just earning money for the owners. And something, other tidbit you may not have realized is that on the Model 3 and Model Y, and also the brand new refreshed interior of S and X, they feature a dash that kind of goes straight across and a landscape view rather than a portrait view, which is, I have center screen so you can watch movies and stuff. And it's right in the center. And the dash goes straight across. And one of the reasons why Tesla engineered them that way is because you'll be able to easily remove the steering wheel and just fill it in with a piece of plastic, and it won't look like it was screwed up or someone like cut the steering wheel out of there. It'll look like it was part of the design intention from the beginning, which it was. It's just that there's that much forethought that has gone into all these products. Now on mine, since mine has the older interior, I don't know. I mean, mine is basically done in a real transition, a very early transition to computer driving from human driving, by just adding those redundant systems, like I said, for steering and main battery pack power, and then adding the other 4 cameras. So I don't know. it might end up looking weird, but it still looks like the same Model X on the outside as the new ones do. And every Tesla, if you're not familiar, I did a video on this too. Search up the channel. Like, why do all Teslas look the same? They all have the same basic shape, even if it's not as big as the one behind me. They all look the same. S, X, 3, and Y. All the ones you can buy right now, they all the same basic shape, and I go into why that is. But the Cliff Notes version is that is the most efficient shape behind me. So they're going to get the most range, be the most efficient use of electricity or fuel. But they, of course, by the way, a lot of people don't really know this. Tesla has never produced an internal combustion engine. They've always done electric, full electric. That's also the difference between Tesla and other manufacturers. There are a few that are new startups, and it's very questionable as to whether they'll survive or not, because they're not talking about their future self-driving fleet that's on the road now. They're not talking about that. All right, if there's anything else you guys know about this or want me to answer, please let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video or something else on this. But for now, this is like your crash course, your basic Robotaxi 101, full self-driving, autopilot, whatever you want to call it. And it's here, and it's going to happen whether you recognize it or not. So if you have somebody else that you know, a friend who wants the full story, the full backstory and future story as to what's going to happen with everything that's already on the road, because it's, like I said, it seems hard to believe now. It'll all make sense when it happens, and everyone looks back and go, oh gosh, yeah. Well, why didn't everybody else do that? And it's just because of the reason why nothing else happens either. No real change happens because the status quo people do not want it to change. They got too much money rolling in with the way it is. And this could be said about this. It could also be said about our nonprofit with aplantbaseddiet.org. Why do people, like, if I ask in 20 or 30 years, why didn't all humans eat a fully health optimizing diet all the time? Why was everybody sick? Why was everybody, feeling pain because of their dietary choice? I don't know. But eventually there's going to be a switch, just like there has been a big switch over to Tesla already, and the stock price reflects that. There will be an even bigger switch once people recognize this is actually going to happen, and it's going to happen with systems that Tesla has in their cars that are already on the road, like millions of them. It's going to be a different world, and I'm looking forward to it though. And like I said, I bought into it since the very beginning. Literally bought into it. I bought some of the stock. And by the way, you probably own Tesla stock if you own an S&P 500, because that's what they are. They're in that. Don't be worried about the FUD that was out there about the ESG or whatever that index is, which is bogus anyway. The S&P 500 ESG, they're still in the S&P 500. Straight up S&P 500, they're in there because they're such a valuable company. And probably they'll be the first, one of the few trillion-dollar companies, and Elon Musk will probably be the first trillionaire once the next stock rise happens. Meteoric stock rise. It'll probably happen again. That's what I think. So let me know your thoughts about all this stuff in the comments. Like the video, of course. Subscribe to the channel so you get more content like this hitting your inbox. And you got to have that bell going on too, so you know when I release new videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.